Intro is FM 107.5. Today's hits and yesterday's favorites.
This is my station.
FM 107.5.
This is the CBS News Weekend Roundup from the LegalZoom studios in Washington. LegalZoom, where life meets legal.
Coming up, California and New York take drastic action over the coronavirus pandemic.
The numbers have gone up. I am going to increase the density control. No more than 25% of people can be in the workforce.
Low-wage workers worried about their paychecks.
I would much rather go to work sick because I can't afford to miss a day.
Why seniors need technology more than ever amid social distancing.
This is a whole new ballgame.
This is a CBS News special report, Coronavirus. I'm Allison Keyes in the CBS News Washington Bureau. This week, the nation and the globe are facing a deadly coronavirus crisis. We are devoting the entire show to this topic to keep you up to date and make sure that you have accurate information about the illness and how to handle the restrictions in many cities and states and around the world. We begin with the major restrictions in the states of California and New York. The Golden State's 40 million residents were all but confined to their homes by Governor Gavin Newsom. CBS's Jamie Yukas reports.
Governor Newsom will keep essential businesses open. That means things like banks, also grocery stores. They also will keep open pharmacies. And here in California, that also means marijuana dispensaries will stay open, as well as takeout restaurants. But other things like furniture stores, barber shops, record stores, those types of things that you see up and down the boulevard, they will all be closed. Newsom said the decision comes as California plans for a worst-case scenario where 56% of the state's residents contract coronavirus. That's more than 22 million people.
CBS's Jamie Yukas. In New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo announced that he is ordering all workers in non-essential businesses to stay home, and he's banning gatherings across the state.
There will be a civil fine and mandatory closure for any business that is not in compliance. Again, your actions can affect my health.
He continues.
Grocery stores need food. Pharmacies need drugs. Your internet has to continue to work. The water has to turn on when you turn the faucet.
President Trump in the coronavirus briefing Friday supported the actions of both New York and California. He also announced the closing of the Mexican border to most travel but not trade. Restrictions on the Canadian border were set earlier this week. CBS News White House correspondent Stephen Portnoy has the latest.
The acting Homeland Security Secretary says only essential workers and trade will flow across the northern and southern borders. And out of fears, Border Patrol facilities and hospitals along the border could be overly taxed by the spread of the virus. Chad Wolf said of any migrants the Border Patrol might encounter,
"We will execute the CDC order by immediately returning individuals arriving without documentation to Canada, Mexico, as well as a number of other countries without delay."
Stephen Portnoy, CBS News, Washington.
The World Health Organization notes that it took 3 months to reach 10,000 coronavirus cases globally and 12 days to reach the next 100,000. The coronavirus pandemic is not only causing worries about hospital space and supplies, but there are families suffering terrible losses. CBS's David Begnaud reports.
A fourth member of a family who lives in the northeastern part of the U.S. has died from coronavirus. 7 members of the Fusco family have all tested positive for the virus. One of the youngest individuals to contract the virus has passed away. 34-year-old Jeffrey Gazarian, a cancer survivor, died Thursday in California.
We are putting all of our healthcare workers at the front line. Some of them are going to get sick.
In New York, medical student Ruth Howell has seen the human suffering firsthand.
There are a lot of people out there who have a lung disease or high blood pressure or something else that's weakened their immune system. They're more vulnerable to this.
CBS's David Begnaud. Many had been worried about getting their taxes done in time as they deal with the fallout from the coronavirus, but CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger says that's no longer a problem.
Procrastinators note the government is going to extend the individual tax filing deadline by 90 days until July 15th. That's according to Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. The IRS had already announced that payments would be deferred until July 15th, but had left the filing deadline in place. But considering that about 80% of taxpayers are due a refund, and the average refund amount is $3,000 or so, it might behoove people to go ahead and file and get their refunds as quickly as possible. Jill Schlesinger, CBS News.
As more is learned about the illness, CBS News medical contributor Dr. Tara Narula joins Gayle King, Anthony Brown, and Tony DeCopel on CBS This Morning to answer questions such as whether pregnant women should be especially concerned.
A lot of pregnant women concerned. So, unfortunately, this virus has only been around for a couple months, so we really don't have the long-term data to tell us a lot. So far, it does not seem that pregnant women are more at risk or will suffer more severe disease. That being said, with other viral illnesses like the flu, for example, women who are pregnant can develop more severe disease. So we really need a lot more data to inform us. In addition, it does not seem at this point in time that pregnant women can pass the virus on to the baby. Has not been found in the amniotic fluid or in the breast milk. But again, all of the science is really evolving, and we will need to look forward as we move along.
We got a question from Shannon on Twitter who asked, allergy season is here. Since it appears some have mild symptoms when infected with the virus, how do we know the difference between allergies and the virus? My son asked me this when we were out for a walk the other day.
Yeah, so some of the symptoms can overlap. First, you want to think about the fact that with allergies, it tends to be more chronic, lasting kind of weeks or months, more seasonal, maybe has some changes with the environment that you're in. And allergies tend to be more the sneezing, runny, stuffy nose, itchy, watery eyes. With COVID, you're really going to have fever, which you shouldn't have with allergies, more of the shortness of breath, more of that dry cough. With allergies, you may get a cough if you have some postnasal drip, but less common. And then more systemic systems with COVID, like the headache and the muscle aches and the fatigue.
So delivery services, particularly takeout food delivery, overdrive right now. Yeah. So we've got a question here, which I think is a great one. This is from a viewer on Instagram asking, should we be concerned about our food sources and the people dropping them off?
Yeah, I think about this every night because my husband and I order in every night. So one of the things you want to understand is that so far there's really been no evidence that COVID can be transmitted through food or through food packaging. That being said, if you want to take precautions, when you have the driver deliver or whoever's delivering, leave it outside the door. You can leave the money out there so you don't actually have that face-to-face interaction.
It feels so rude, though. Please understand.
You can leave a kind note.
They're probably happy, too. Yeah, they're probably pleased. They're afraid of us.
And then when you take the packaging in, because we do know that there can be some droplets on surfaces that we have to pay attention to, you want to bring it somewhere that's not in the area you're going to be eating. Discard the packaging. Take the food out and don't use the containers or the utensils that came in the bag. Put it in your own, and then clean the surface where you put that down and wash your hands.
That's Dr. Tara Narula with CBS's Gayle King, Anthony Brown, and Tony DeCopel. Coming up, what it's like for people in Paris and London amid the coronavirus lockdowns.
It's strange because the streets are eerily quiet.
That's next on the CBS News Special Report, Coronavirus.
The CBS News Weekend Roundup is sponsored by LegalZoom. If you run a small business, you should use LegalZoom to make sure you're set up for success. Go to LegalZoom.com to take care of your business needs and enter promo code SECURITY in the box at checkout.
Ready to create your own income with your own home-based business where there's no such thing as getting laid off? If a billionaire entrepreneur spent 5 years and $20 million searching for the next big trend, wouldn't you want to know what he found? If you're serious about making money from home without having to leave home, then write this down. www.goherenext.com. You decide your income. Get the facts now. Goherenext.com.
Luckily, you can still have your favorite Mexican food by El Serape Restaurant in Imperial because they're offering curbside service and delivery valley-wide with a minimal order. Hours will be Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. They're doing their best during this difficult time for all of us, and luckily, you can still enjoy your favorite Mexican food from El Serape Restaurant in Imperial. Call 760-355-4435 and place your orders. That's 355-4435.
Visiting Imperial Valley? The America's Best Value Inn and Suites by Red Lion has all the comforts of home. All rooms have a microwave, refrigerator, and cable TV with HBO. They have an outdoor pool, spacious parking, and free continental breakfast, which includes hot waffles. All these luxuries start as low as $49 per night. And be sure to ask about contractors and crew rates. America's Best Value Inn and Suites is close to I-8 at 455 Wake Avenue in El Centro, across from In-N-Out Burger and IHOP. Make your reservation now by calling 760-352-6620. That's 352-6620. America's best value inn and suites by Red Lion, 455 Wake Avenue, El Centro.
At Advanced Eye Care Optometry, you'll find eye care professionals who genuinely care about your health and are dedicated to providing exceptional personal service for you and your family. Since 1995, it is our mission to provide the best eye care services possible. Our doctors use only the most advanced, state-of-the-art diagnostic technology and eye care products available. We take most insurances, and we provide the lowest out-of-pocket costs for cash-paying patients. Schedule an appointment today, 352-3505. That's Advanced Eye Care, 506 West Dayton Road in Imperial. Log on to StopSquinting.com for more info. Fashion, care, and personal service. Advanced Eye Care.
At work.
I dig music.
At home. Or in the car.
We're here because of the music.
FM 107.5.
On the CBS News Weekend Roundup.
This is a CBS News special report, Coronavirus. I'm Allison Keyes. Italy now has the most coronavirus deaths of any country in the world, surpassing China, where the global outbreak began. The scene there is very grim.
A column of 15 military trucks carried dead bodies from the town of Bergamo in northern Italy to other provinces where the bodies could be disposed of after a record high 475 deaths in Italy in one day. Meanwhile, makeshift hospitals were being built at an incredible speed to increase beds for the sick.
That's CBS's Sabina Castelfranco. In London, there have been some scuffles in supermarkets. CBS News correspondent Vicki Barker is there.
There have been pretty ugly scenes in supermarkets. It doesn't matter how many times British officials and British supermarket chain executives assure the British public there's enough toilet paper to go around, there's enough food to go around. People are still panic buying, and of course that just encourages other people to panic buy because they're afraid the panic buying will mean that the stores do run out of these things. And guess what? They're running out of these things. I was stopped at a stoplight behind one of those white builders vans the other day, and you know, a lot of them have signs saying no tools locked in this van overnight. This one, someone had written on the dust in the back of it, no toilet rolls locked in this van overnight.
All righty then. How are the streets looking like in what is usually a really busy city?
I was cycling to work this morning because I haven't been on public transportation in a couple of weeks now, and the streets of London looked deserted. There were knots of people outside supermarkets waiting for those doors to open, but people are largely taking the government's advice of working from home if they possibly can and avoiding public transportation.
What about schools and universities there? Are they closed as well?
Well, school's out for the summer, possibly. I mean, when British Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced that schools, daycare centers, and universities were to go into pretty much indefinite recess at the end of the day, Friday, he's left everybody hanging. In Scotland, the schools may not come back into session until the autumn. Johnson said that there would be an exception made for the children of workers performing vital services, but because he didn't state just which workers those were and how those kids were going to be accommodated, everything is in a state of confusion right now.
And especially weddings, right? I hear that there have been some new rules for people that are trying to get married.
Well, everybody's been told about social distancing. You're meant to stay 3 to 6 feet away from people. The Church of England has now issued a guidance that any weddings that are performed during the course of this pandemic, the maximum size of the wedding party can be 5. That's bride, groom, priest, and 2 legally mandated witnesses. And I say bride and groom because the Church of England still doesn't perform same-sex weddings. So I suspect what you're going to see, Allison, is a whole lot of heterosexual couples doing the same thing the same-sex couples do and get married by a justice of the peace.
Let me just ask you one more thing, Vicki. How does it feel on the streets there? Are people panicking yet, or is everyone still just kind of getting used to all this?
I think people are still adjusting. The British government has yet to impose a full lockdown here in London, even though it acknowledges that London is the coronavirus hotspot for the UK. But people are almost settling into the reality that that's what's going to happen. My street is very neighborly, and we've got an email group going, about 30 or 40 people all offering to pick up groceries for some of the older residents on our street, or we've got a couple of people who are already self-isolating because, one member or the other of the household is displaying symptoms of coronavirus. And if anybody needs favors done, there are plenty of people in the neighborhood willing to do it. And I guess all I can hope is that scenes like that are playing out across the UK and across the USA as well, because I think that is what is going to get us through this nightmare.
That's CBS News correspondent Vicki Barker. CBS's Elaine Cobb is in Paris.
It's strange because the streets are eerily quiet. The Champs-Élysées today, there were cars this morning, but only a few, as people are still allowed to go out if they need to go to work. There are actually more people around than I would have expected, but people are allowed to go out and to shop for food, for medical appointments, and if they have to go to work. And also they're allowed to go out for solitary physical exercise, so no getting together in groups, no playing football together, none of that. The police are out because they also think there are quite a few more than might be needed, and they're slapping fines on people now who are not carrying a little form that the government has given us all, which you have to tick the box of which one of those things you're doing that you're allowed to do. And if you don't have it dated, then you can be fined.
So this is not like you can just stroll down to the corner and buy yourself some flowers.
No, flowers are non-essential. You cannot do that. You have to print out the form and then tick the box that either says I'm going to work, I'm buying food I really, really need, it's medical, I have a family emergency, or I'm going to do some exercise in the neighborhood on my own.
How are people feeling about all of this, and what is such a cosmopolitan city?
It's not easy in a city like Paris because it's very densely populated. There are like 2.2 million people inside Paris proper without the suburbs. And people live in small apartments. They don't all have courtyards or balconies. And many people live in, 200 square feet. And they're looking at spending weeks in just that. I'm lucky I have a courtyard, so I can just walk out into that anytime and no one can say anything to me. Obviously, if we all decided at the same time, that would be rather awkward.
So is it beginning to get, you just said people are starting to get a bit of cabin fever. Are you sensing any panic yet, or is this still pretty novel to folk at this point?
Oh, it's still pretty novel. I don't think people are feeling cabin fever. I think they're fearing it. An awful lot of people have been on the phone to me. People are texting each other. There's a lot of social media activity. In fact, as one friend said, we're back to what it started as, keeping in touch, sending each other messages and having real conversations. So some people are enjoying that.
That's CBS's Elaine Cobb. Coming up, the dilemma for low-wage workers. That's next on the CBS News Special Report, Coronavirus.
Are you more than $10,000 in debt? Feel like you are on a never-ending treadmill, staying in one place and never getting ahead? You feel like there is no way out and you're just robbing Peter to pay Paul? There are programs in place to help you get free of your debt, and you pay only a fraction of what you owe. The program at Total Financial Freedom can help you get debt-free in months rather than decades. Your debt can be settled for a mere fraction of what you owe. Call Total Financial now at 800-899-8922. That's 800-899-8922.
Hacienda Snack Bar and Brawley will stay open with curbside service and delivery with a minimal order, and also for dinner upon request. Open 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. Please call Hacienda Snack Bar at 760-344-5542. That's 344-5542.
Built Ford Tough means built to last. That's why Ford F-Series are the best-selling trucks in America, and they have been for 43 years straight. It's not hard to see why. Ford F-150 has best-in-class payload, tons of smart tech, and a truckload of other claims to fame. Drive it like a Ford. Drive it today. Drive it home. Now get F-150 with 0% financing for 72 months. That's no interest for 6 years on the legendary F-150. Only at your Imperial Valley Ford dealers. Learn more at buyfordnow.com. Based on 1977 to 2019 calendar year total sales, max payload on F-150 XL regular cab 8-foot box 5.0 liter 4x2 heavy duty payload package. Classes full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds GVWR. See label on door jamb for carrying capacity of the specific vehicle. Not all buyers will qualify for Ford credit financing. 0 for 72 months at $13.89 per month per thousand finance regardless of down payment. Excludes Raptor. Offer ends 3/31/2020. See dealer for qualifications and complete details.
Today's hits, more music, and yesterday's favorites.
More music now. My music is on.
This is FM 107.5.
Welcome back to the CBS News Weekend Roundup from the LegalZoom studios in Washington. LegalZoom, where life meets legal.
This is a CBS News special report, Coronavirus. I'm Allison Keyes. This is clearly a very stressful situation for everyone. CBS News contributor Dr. Lisa Damour spoke with CBS Evening News host Nora O'Donnell on ways to handle that.
First and foremost, we have to recognize that anxiety is a normal, healthy function. Psychologists have long appreciated that anxiety alerts us to threats and motivates us to take good care of ourselves.
What worries you the most when it comes to people's mental health during this pandemic?
I think I worry about the wear and tear of chronic stress and chronic anxiety. I think we have a sense that this could go on for a while. So what I want people to do is to make sure they have ways to take a break from it. It is perfectly okay to distract yourself. Check out from time to time. Go watch a funny movie. Go call someone who you can just have a light conversation with.
Children's lives have changed dramatically in just the last week. How can we help our kids deal with everything happening around them?
So I think first and foremost, we can answer their questions. And probably the best way to do that is to say to them, what questions do you have for me? What are you hearing? What are you thinking? And to see what's already on their minds. Beyond that, I would say that kids need routines. Kids need structure. They do really well with them. So I would actually have all parents sit down with their kids, come up with a schedule, have the child have a heavy hand in coming up with a schedule, bring some predictability back into daily life.
Social interaction is extremely important for children. What can we do to help them continue their development?
Social media, which we've all had our questions about, I think we're going to feel slightly differently about in this moment because it does let teenagers connect. And then we have to figure out how we can help younger children to stay connected to their peers. So some of it may be calling. I know that there are some teachers who have created classroom social networks where kids can interact as young as, first, second, third grade. So staying connected while being appropriately socially distant from one another.
How do we socially distance from people without emotionally distancing ourselves?
So in some ways, there's probably never been a better time in history for us to stay connected while being physically apart. I myself, I am texting all my friends. I am checking in. I'm sending little notes saying I'm thinking of you. I am calling people I haven't talked to in a while. We have these resources. We should be using them. Humans need one another, and we can support one another through this.
That's CBS's Nora O'Donnell with Dr. Lisa Damour. Stress doesn't begin to describe the situation for the nearly 1 in 4 U.S. workers who don't have access to paid sick leave. Most are living paycheck to paycheck. CBS's Adriana Diaz has more.
There's a lot of uncertainty right now. Working remotely simply isn't an option for someone who flips burgers, works a cash register, or drives a school bus. For people barely making ends meet as it is, they may be less willing to miss work no matter what the reason. Plus, they're often interacting face-to-face with customers, putting them at risk of exposure.
I'm good at left-handed.
27-year-old single mother Adriana Alvarez has been working at this McDonald's since she was 17, and she says she can't afford to get sick.
Every 2 seconds, hand sanitizer. There's a lot of people coming through the drive-thru. We're exchanging money, we're dealing with food. What if it spreads through food? You know what I mean?
McDonald's told us it's bolstered its hygiene standards and shifted to takeout, drive-through, and deliveries in company-owned stores. And it says it's strongly encouraging franchises to do the same. The franchise where Alvarez works made that switch this week. A leader in the Fight for 15 minimum wage movement, Alvarez is calling on McDonald's to provide paid sick leave to all employees. So you do have sick days, but it's hard to get them.
Correct.
It's hard to use them.
Yeah, they don't want to give it to us. I don't understand why.
The health and well-being of our
McDonald's sent CBS News this video statement saying corporate restaurants are providing 2 weeks paid sick leave due to the virus. But that doesn't apply to franchises.
We have an amazing group of franchisees who lead almost 95% of our restaurants. I'm confident they will support their teams in a time of crisis.
We reached out to Alvarez's franchise owner, but haven't heard back. For Alvarez and her 7-year-old son, Manny, she says every hour of work she misses is a precious $13.45 lost.
Basically, one paycheck is for the rent. The other one is for groceries. And then it's watching the calendar, waiting for that next paycheck with like $25, $30 in your bank account.
President Trump signed a coronavirus emergency relief package that includes paid time off. But Alvarez is skeptical help will come.
I'm not completely confident, no. As of right now, I would much rather go to work sick because I can't afford to miss a day.
So if you got sick, you would still go to work?
Unless I'm like, I can't get up, then you will see me at work.
Unless you physically cannot stand?
Yes.
I get $20.75 an hour.
How hard is it with the job to make ends meet?
It's very hard.
Sheila Red, a school bus driver of 17 years, is now out of work completely after Illinois closed schools this week. She's expecting to file for unemployment, but she says won't cover all the bills and food to support her 2 daughters and 2 grandkids. What keeps you up at night?
Them. Worried about them. I don't know. Sorry.
It's okay. And now with this new world we live in, everything's upside down.
It is very, very much upside down.
And Red is not alone. A new survey found that 1 in 5 households has already lost work because of this pandemic, and school closures are further complicating life. McDonald's worker Adriana Alvarez is now trying to sort out childcare for her son.
That's CBS's Adriana Diaz. In many cities, restaurants and bars are closed or operating on takeout only. Reporter Hadass Kuznets.
Philadelphia restaurant owner Judy Nee says the way owners have had to adjust to coronavirus will likely impact the entire restaurant industry well after businesses are allowed to reopen for dine-in service if they are able to stay afloat that long.
All the people that we employ as well. Hospitality is the largest employment group within the city of Philadelphia. That's over 100,000 jobs.
She says owners are facing a slew of issues right now, including unsuccessfully trying to get payouts from their insurance companies.
When we're signing papers, this was not something that, like the terrorism coverage is brought out to us. But the pandemic thing, like how do you expect this?
And Ben Fletcher with the Pennsylvania Restaurant and Lodging Association says that's a problem.
A lot of restaurateurs are worried about payroll coming up, and a lot of people just don't have the funds right now to pay their staff.
Fletcher says for restaurants, taxes are due this month.
Most people submit their sales tax, their liquor tax, and the decision right now is, do I keep that money to cover payroll or to cover rent?
While Nee says she's in the process of changing her business model to focus on delivery, this is not feasible or cost effective for all restaurants.
We're going to see a level of closings that is not something that we've ever seen in our lives. I really hope I'm wrong about this.
Because she says when businesses can't make ends meet, sometimes they have no choice but to close.
And the number of restaurants that I know that have laid off people already is staggering.
Hadass Kuznets for CBS News, Philadelphia.
Coming up, a skill seniors really need amid the coronavirus pandemic. That's next on the CBS News Special Report, Coronavirus.
The CBS News Weekend Roundup is sponsored by LegalZoom. If you run a small business, you should use LegalZoom to make sure you're set up for success. Go to LegalZoom.com to take care of your business needs and enter promo code SECURITY in the box at checkout.
Hey, Greg, I'm so sorry to hear about your brother's heart attack.
Thanks. He's okay now, but it really got me thinking about my family. Could my wife still pay our mortgage if I had a heart problem?
Yeah, you should call my life insurance agent at Health IQ. They apply their exclusive Healthy Lifestyle Savings, which can save you up to 41%.
41%? That's huge.
Yep. I literally got $1 million in coverage for just $36 a month. You should check it out at healthiq.com/easy. healthiq.com/easy.
It's Carol for the census. Yes, the U.S. Census Bureau wants, everybody wants you to fill out the census information. Do it online. Do it on the telephone. Do it now. And that way, you save a lot of money and effort because they won't have to send somebody knocking on your door to get the information. It's easy. There are 9 questions. You can handle this. It's not like it's a big test or anything. Yeah, so they need to know who lives in your house. Yeah, who makes up your household. It's easy. And what? Law enforcement, social service agencies, they don't have access to the information. Only the people that need to tally up the numbers and make sure that the Imperial Valley gets what it deserves as far as help and support from the feds and from the state. You've got the census form in the mail. Fill it out. Do it now. It only takes a couple of minutes.
The best music all day. Today's hits. And yesterday's favorites.
FM 107.5.
On the CBS News Weekend Roundup.
This is a CBS News special report, Coronavirus. I'm Allison Keyes. Welcome to the Kaleidoscope, where every week we'll discuss issues of race, gender, LGBTQ, and income inequality, among other things. This week we begin with CBS immigration reporter Camila Montoya Galvez and how undocumented migrants are faring during this pandemic.
ICE has announced a new enforcement posture in which it will focus on detaining and apprehending undocumented immigrants who pose a threat to public safety, as well as those who the agency has to detain under guidelines set by Congress. So this will effectively exempt most undocumented immigrants from enforcement actions by ICE.
Isn't this something that advocates have been fighting for a bit?
Yes. And ICE said this was needed to ensure the safety of both its officers and the general public. And this is a victory for advocates who have been calling on ICE to make this change. But advocates still want the agency to reduce the number of people it is currently detaining in its scores of detention facilities across the country. Remember that there are about 37,000 immigrants locked up in ICE prisons, and this is civil immigration detention system, so ICE has the power to release most of them.
Let me ask you, are they saying, is ICE saying that it is or is not going to arrest people that are at hospitals and healthcare facilities amid this pandemic?
Right. ICE has been very careful in stressing that it is not conducting enforcement actions at or near medical institutions, hospitals, clinics, doctors' offices, but it does say that it could do so in the most extraordinary circumstances.
Okay, let me ask you one more thing. You were just talking about the people that are at detention centers. What's being done to protect those folk from risk of the virus, and what are they doing about the elderly people that are at those centers?
Sure. ICE has implemented new protocols to screen new detainees and to make sure that it isolates those with symptoms related to the virus. It has also canceled social visitations by family members and friends at detention centers. But advocates say these measures are not sufficient because they want the agency to release detainees who are older than 65, pregnant women, people with underlying medical conditions, and also asylum seekers who do not pose a threat to public safety.
That's CBS immigration reporter Camila Montoya Galvez. Businesses of all kinds are having a drop-off in clients, including Jaha Hair Studio in Silver Spring, Maryland. Owner Susan Peterkin caters to primarily black clients and says businesses of color have special challenges.
As an established business for over 24 years, I have a lot of older clientele who have been with me 15, 20 years. So they have been canceling, and even if they don't cancel, I call them up myself and just, kind of remind them that they're not supposed to be out. So that has cut our business, I would say, at least 50%. So it definitely has affected us.
What about the other stylists that work in your building? How are they doing?
We had a meeting. We decided that we're going to take one client at a time, and, so that we can stick to the rule of no more than 10 people, and so people can be farther away from each other. What we're doing is we ask everyone as soon as they walk through the door to wash their hands, stuff like that, so that, so that we can just pay attention. We have a lot of wipes around the salon. And even though Jaha Hair Studio is a natural hair salon, we're also a licensed salon in the state of Maryland, because I'm a senior licensed cosmetologist who just decide that natural hair is my thing. I'm doing natural hair. So I already abide by the rules of the Cosmetology Board of Maryland. I mean, it's that serious. I'm taking it serious. I have 2 elderly parents at home, so I'm not taking anything home to my parents.
So let me ask you, Susan, there are a lot of people that have been saying that businesses of color are particularly at risk under these circumstances right now because, well, people of color usually are. We usually have fewer resources than some other businesses. I'm wondering, are you feeling that way, or are you feeling like you're going to be okay here?
As an entrepreneur, I've learned over the years, I've weathered many storms, the recession and stuff that we have. So in the beginning, I was not panicking, because this is just another thing in the life of an entrepreneur. And being a black female with a business, of course, there's always some added burden. So I wasn't really panicking at first, but then as I started talking to other stylists, because I'm also the co-founder of the Natural Hair Industry Convention, where we have over 100,000 followers, and so I'm constantly online talking to them and just hearing some of their what are they worrying about, and, their issues and stuff. And, just decided to go on and even do like a quick conversation about how to sanitize your salon, because I think it's some things we take for granted in the industry. And how many people came on and was jumping in our DM and asking us questions. So I realized that even though I'm not panicking, because I'm used to being in this mode and used to taking charge, that other people are.
That's hair salon owner Susan Peterkin. In the midst of social distancing, senior citizens are in need of some special skills.
Turby and Paul Smilo of Sarasota, Florida, have been married for 60 years. They've experienced a lot. A world war, the 60s, 9/11. But for this couple in their 80s and their contemporaries, this is a whole new ballgame.
Without question, people feel very isolated. They can't be with their friends, they can't go out, and so they're looking for ways to communicate even more than they used to.
For a couple of 80-somethings, they know their way around a computer. Tuesday night, they successfully had their first Zoom video conference with their daughters, and now plan to host their friends remotely.
We've made the suggestion that they look into Zoom, and we could all have a meal at our homes and communicate with one another through this remarkable tool.
In the interest of full disclosure, I was in on the Tuesday night Zoom video conference. For the Smilos are my in-laws.
We were so proud of ourselves and of Marnie for being able to teach it to us, one of our daughters.
And I loved the fact that all of you guys on our screen applauded our presence.
Their willingness to learn about the latest forms of communication is a lesson not just for seniors, but for all of us who might fear the new tech world.
We're excited about learning about new things. We feel we're never too old to do that. As long as our brains are still working, why shouldn't we learn new things and be part of the 21st century?
Bud Mishkin, CBS News.
Coming up, something cool you can watch while at home. That's next on the CBS News Special Report, Coronavirus.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
I just feel great. It gives me energy. It's not like too much energy where I'm flying all over the place, but it is just the right amount. I just feel so good. I love taking Balance of Nature.
Right now, Balance of Nature is offering 35% off on any new preferred order. Go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code FRUITS.
It's time to wake up and smell the deals at Rogers & Rogers Kia Spring Savings Event. Come check out our brand new state-of-the-art facility and lease the all-new 2021 Kia Seltos for only $241 per month for 36 months. Only $1 due at signing. That's right, only $1 due at signing. 10,000 miles per year excludes tax, title, license, and $650 acquisition fee on approved Tier 3 credit with $0 security deposit. Offer expires March 31st, 2020. It's time to spring into action at Rogers & Rogers Kia. Highway 86 between El Centro and Imperial. Family owned and operated for over 95 years. The El Centro Police Activities League, known as PAL, has one goal: to keep our kids busy and off the streets with different activities throughout the year. You can call PAL to get your kids involved. From sports programs like soccer or boxing to educational programs. Throughout the year, PAL has different fundraisers to help keep these programs going. Please support the El Centro Police Activities League by getting involved. You can call PAL at 760-337-4577. That's 337-4577.
AM 1230 and the Westwood One Radio Network present NCAA Classic Basketball. Great games from NCAA tournament history. The series includes the classic 1979 matchup between Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. TCU versus Georgetown. The 1983 championship game between North Carolina State and Houston. Some of the greatest games in NCAA men's basketball tournament history on AM 1230.
NCAA Classic Basketball is brought to you by Stan's Auto Body in El Centro, a name you can trust. Julie Oliver of Dickey Insurance Services, your Imperial Valley Allstate agent.
Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, lock in. Always free, no syncing required. FM 107.5.
On the CBS News Weekend Roundup.
This is a CBS News special report, Coronavirus. I'm Allison Keys. Federal law enforcement officials are warning people to watch out for scams related to the coronavirus pandemic. CBS News correspondent Catherine Herridge explains.
A senior FBI official confirms to CBS News a significant spike in COVID-19 cybercrimes across the country, and the Bureau anticipates criminals will zero in on states with high rates of infection, including Washington, California, and New York. FBI Section Chief Herb Stapleton said virtually all of the attacks targeting American victims are from criminals who live outside the U.S., and the scams target parts of the country disproportionately affected by the virus. The FBI said criminals use the promise of government relief checks, vaccines, test kits, and charities as lures. In many cases, the criminals convey a sense of urgency and demand payment up front or a deposit. The Bureau is also tracking a growing number of cases targeting employees working from home, designed to compromise their personal computer and gain access to their company network. The FBI is urging caution to be wary of any unsolicited emails or calls and to independently verify the source by phone or on the web. Catherine Herridge, CBS News, Washington.
Staying home to try and curb the spread of the coronavirus is likely putting victims and survivors of domestic violence at risk, as it allows abusers more access and control over them. Ruth Glenn is CEO of the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence.
This is a precarious time where victims and survivors may be experiencing an intensity in domestic violence or more domestic violence individually. But let's not forget that if they are and they decide that they need some help and or resources or support, that we don't forget that there are a specific population that needs us as well.
Experts say those concerned about their safety should begin creating a plan now, including where to go and whom to call. They also suggest having a code word to let friends and family know they need help, since private communication could be difficult with the abuser in the same space. But there are bright spots during this time of social distancing. An army of volunteers is delivering meals and more to the millions of elderly Americans who are very much at risk amid the pandemic.
Meals on Wheels!
For the seniors on Jennifer Atwood's delivery route.
Hey, so I have your meals today.
The meals are their one certainty in these most uncertain times.
You know what's going on with the corona.
That's why I'm staying in the house with her.
They're scared or they're hungry, and that's really not a safe place for them right now.
Everyone likes to give a hug and really, be close.
Chief Nursing Officer Olivia Rogers says it's not just the meals that are crucial, But for many seniors, this is often their only chance to interact with someone during the day.
How you doing? You feel okay?
And now it's at a social distance.
We still love you. We're here for you, but we are going to also keep you safe.
So far, donations are steady. And in a sign of the times, volunteer efforts are up. Mireya Villarreal, CBS News, Dallas.
Craft distilleries are stepping up to lend a hand as well.
Litchfield Distillery in Massachusetts is cranking out thousands of bottles of sanitizer with the same alcohol it uses to make gin, bourbon, and vodka. Berkshire Mountain Distillers in Sheffield, Massachusetts produced its first bottles of sanitizer made from ethanol blended with vegetable glycerin and hydrogen peroxide this week. Many are giving it away for free. A spokesman for the American Distilling Institute tells the New York Times it's not an economic lifeline for distilleries, but something they can do to help people suffering in their own communities. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
There's been an unexpected benefit from the coronavirus pandemic. CBS's Cindy Palm reports.
The world-famous canals in Venice are usually teeming with tourists in gondolas. But now that the Italian government closed the country to visitors and told residents to stay home to slow the spread of COVID-19, the usual murky waters have turned crystal clear. The canal is definitely clearer, this resident says. Small fish can even be spotted swimming beneath the surface. Pollution is dropping rapidly in cities around the world. In New York, researchers saw carbon emissions from cars and trucks fall nearly 50% compared to this time last year.
How surprised were you about this drastic decline in pollution?
So we were really surprised. That's happened over the past week. It will be interesting to see if that continues.
But climate analysts warn the dip in pollution is likely temporary.
As the outbreak gets more under control and economic activity continues to comes back up, we'll see these emissions rise again.
But for now, experts say the positive news about pollution may be one of the only silver linings to the growing pandemic. Cindy Palm, CBS News, London.
Finally this week, with so many millions confined to their homes over coronavirus concerns, you might take the time to turn your eyes to the sky. NASA's Preston Dykes joins us to explain.
Yeah, if you are lucky enough to find yourself up before the sun rises this month, you can look to the east or southeast, and catch a beautiful grouping of 3 naked-eye planets. That's Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Are visible low in the southeast sky.
So you were saying that the moon was gorgeous on the 18th, but there are more great things to come from the moon, right, if we keep watching?
It'll come back around a month later on the 14th, 15th, and 16th of April to rejoin to make a planetary quartet in the morning sky. But you can watch as Mars slips just past Jupiter and then makes its way over to Saturn at the end of the month. And then it starts to pull away from the gas giants. It starts to make a getaway from Jupiter and Saturn. And it actually will not rejoin those 2 planets close together in the sky for about 2.5 years. So if you want to catch all 3 of these planets together at once, this is the time to get up a little early and go check them out.
This sounds a bit like a planetary dance of some sort.
Yeah, I like to call it a planetary quartet. And some folks wonder what I'm doing, reclassifying the moon as a planet. No, it's an object in the sky with the planets. We call it a planetary object. That's what the moon's doing, and playing a little bit of celestial jazz together with its buddies.
Fabulous. I hear that it's also a really good time to see one of my favorite stars, which is Sirius.
Yeah, Sirius is the brightest star in our sky. And it's really easy to find. You just look toward the south right now these days, and everyone knows how to find Orion, the giant constellation, with the 3 bright stars making up its belt. And if you just find Orion's belt, those stars point toward the left, downward toward Sirius, and making it really easy to identify which one it is.
And who doesn't love the dog star?
Yeah, I actually am a big fan of basset hounds, so I actually like to imagine that the constellation is in the shape of a basset hound.
Okay, although I'm not sure the warrior hunter Orion would need a basset hound, but it sounds fun.
They're great. They're actually great helpers to any hunter on the field.
That's NASA's Preston Dykes. Stay with CBS News on the air and on CBS All Access for the latest on the coronavirus pandemic. This is a CBS News special report, Coronavirus. I'm Allison Keyes, CBS News.
I